Pakistan has just declared open war against the Taliban. And these images you're about to see are revealing. This was filmed in the early hours of February 27th. This military complex you're seeing is where suicide bombers were trained to blow themselves up inside Pakistan. Pakistan decided it was time to put an end to this and destroyed the complex. Apparently, all the terrorists were killed. But that was just the beginning. That was the first target. What happened next is something no country had ever dared to do before. But to understand the scale of what's happening here, you need to understand one thing first. Pakistan is not just the enemy of the Taliban in this story. Pakistan created the Taliban. And this is the story that repeats itself every time a country thinks it can control what it has unleashed on the world. It happened with the Soviet Union and the Mujahideen, and now it's happening again with the same result. The big question isn't just who will win this war. It's why countries never learn from this mistake. But there are people who do learn and make smart decisions before it's too late. Let's go back in time. The 1990s. Afghanistan was devastated after years of war against the Soviet Union. The country was divided into several armed groups fighting each other for power. It was total chaos. Pakistan saw an opportunity in that chaos. The idea was simple but bold: to put in power in Afghanistan a group that was allied, obedient, and would serve as protection. A neighbor that would never go against Pakistan. A territory that, in case of war with India, could be used to retreat and reorganize. This plan even had an official name within the Pakistani government: Strategic Depth Doctrine, a complicated name for a simple idea: using Afghanistan as an allied country to protect Pakistan from behind. And the group chosen to carry out this plan was the Taliban. Pakistan's main intelligence agency, known as the ISI, trained, armed, and financed the Taliban from the very beginning, since 1994. When I started researching this conflict, I expected to find two longtime enemies. What I didn't expect was to discover that one of them literally created the other. Pakistan not only supported the Taliban, Pakistan helped build the Taliban. And for a while the plan worked. But then something changed. The Taliban returned to power in Afghanistan in 2021 after the United States withdrew its troops from the country. And instead of being the obedient neighbor that Pakistan expected, the Taliban went in the opposite direction. The monster grew and decided it no longer needed its creator. To understand why Pakistan reached the point of declaring open war, you need to know a name. TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. This complicated name means Taliban of Pakistan. This group is a terrorist organization that operates within Pakistani territory. They share the same beliefs as the Afghan Taliban, the same customs, the same origin, and the same goal: to overthrow the government of Pakistan and replace it with an extremist regime. The TTP has between 30,000 and 35,000 active members. That's what the United Nations itself indicates. And the Afghan Taliban sheltered this group inside Afghanistan, gave them a safe haven, protected the TTP leaders, and allowed them to plan and carry out attacks inside Pakistan from Afghan soil. Think about what that means in practice.
At least 26 people died in a terrorist attack in Pakistan. Security cameras caught the moment of the explosion. The attack happened at a train station on the border of Pakistan with Azerbaijan and Iran.
Bombs exploding in Pakistani markets, attacks on military bases, attacks against civilians, all planned from the other side of the border with the protection of the Taliban. Pakistan then demanded that the Taliban hand over the TTP leaders, but the Taliban ignored it. Pakistan threatened, and the Taliban kept ignoring. There were attempts at an agreement, a ceasefire in October 2025, mediated by Turkey, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. In other words, other countries tried to bring both sides to the table and make peace, but the agreement didn't last. The violence continued, the TTP attacks inside Pakistan continued, and then that was the last straw.
Pakistan declared open war against the Taliban government in Afghanistan and attacked the capital, Kabul. Pakistan said that its patience has run out.
February 22nd, 2026. Pakistan launched airstrikes against what it called militant camps in Afghan territory. The justification was clear. They were TTP bases that the Taliban refused to shut down. The Taliban understood that as a declaration and 4 days later responded. On the night of February 26th at 8 o'clock local time, the Taliban launched a series of coordinated attacks against Pakistani military positions along the border.
Allahu Akbar!
In the provinces of Kunar, Khost, Nangarhar, Nuristan, Paktia, and Paktika, regions that host Pakistani military bases. Imagine Pakistani soldiers in those bases on an ordinary night. And suddenly, at the same time, in several different locations along hundreds of kilometers of border, the shooting begins. Gunfire, simultaneous explosions. The Taliban attacked at multiple points at the same time. Pakistan wasn't expecting this scale and was furious. The spokesperson for the Pakistani government said that the Taliban had miscalculated and opened fire without provocation at multiple locations. The response came hours later. In the early hours of February 27th, Pakistan launched the operation that gave this conflict its name, Operation Righteous Fury. Bombs fell in border provinces, military installations were destroyed, and then Pakistan went beyond anything it had ever done before. They attacked Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, and this is where the story gets even bigger. After all, why did they attack the capital? What was in Kabul that justified escalating the conflict to this level? The answer lies in a name that most people outside this region have never heard of. Hibatullah Akhundzada. He is the supreme leader of the Taliban, the most powerful man in Afghanistan, the chief who controls everything but who almost never appears in public. In the years when the Taliban was out of power, he lived in the shadows. After 2021, he continued living in the shadows, a mysterious, protected figure, practically invisible. And Kandahar is the city where he lives and rules, the spiritual capital of the Taliban, the place where Akhundzada has his residence, far from the spotlight of Kabul. Pakistan didn't just target Kabul, it also targeted Kandahar, directly in the city where the supreme leader lives, with a very special objective to find and eliminate Akhundzada. This is not speculation. The New York Times, CNN, and Foreign Policy confirmed that the attacks in Kandahar targeted facilities less than a kilometer from Akhundzada's residence. Pakistan went after the man. One country tried to kill the leader of another country. That's what sets this conflict apart from anything that came before. That's what no other country had the courage to do. And the big question that no one can answer yet is, did it work? The Taliban neither confirmed nor denied the death of their leader, and they probably wouldn't confirm it even if it had happened. Admitting that the supreme leader was killed would be a devastating blow to the group's morale. So far, there is no confirmation that Akhundzada was killed, but Pakistan hasn't backed down either. The country's defense minister, Khawaja Mohammad Asif, used a specific expression to describe what is happening. He said that Pakistan has run out of patience with the Taliban and that the country was in open war. The Pakistani government went even further. It declared that it would no longer accept any dialogue with the Taliban regime. No negotiation, no talks, just war, that's it.
After the Kabul airport, Pakistan also bombed the Kandahar airport.
Meanwhile, the Taliban also made their statements. The group's spokesperson, Zabiullah Mujahid, published a message stating that the Taliban had responded to the Pakistani attacks with strikes against positions in Helmand and Kandahar. The message was deleted shortly after it was published. Why delete it? No one knows for sure, but it generated even more speculation about what is really happening on both sides. And speaking of casualties, the numbers circulating are completely contradictory. They are so different that practically all media outlets around the world are adding a disclaimer to their reports saying none of this data could be independently verified. What is certain is that many people have died and the fighting continues. But there is an element in this war that surprised everyone, including military experts. Pakistan reported that Taliban drones attacked 3 locations inside its territory. And do you know why this is so impactful? Because the Taliban had never used war drones before. The group was known for only using civilian drones, the same ones anyone can buy at a store. Nothing with real military capability, but these drones were different. They had attack capability. They were used to hit specific military installations in specific locations inside a foreign country. And what's most concerning about all this is that no one knows for sure yet who supplied them with these drones. What is known is that this changed the game. Before, we had a group that relied on guerrilla tactics and improvised explosives, but now they have airstrike capability. And here we come to the most surprising part of this war. Pakistan is much more powerful than the Taliban in almost every possible military aspect. The Pakistani army has 660,000 active soldiers. The Taliban has about 75,000. Pakistan has 550,000 reservist soldiers, trained people who can be called to fight at any time, and 500,000 extra security forces. The Taliban has 0 reservists. The money Pakistan spends on the army per year exceeds $9 billion, while the Taliban spends $145 million. Pakistan has more than 2,600 tanks, over 59,000 armored vehicles, a navy with 120 ships, and a complete air force with modern warplanes. The Taliban has some Soviet-era helicopters and equipment that the United States left behind when they left Afghanistan in 2021. And Pakistan has 170 nuclear weapons. On paper, this war should end quickly with an overwhelming victory for Pakistan. But what's on paper is one thing. Reality is another. So why isn't this war won? There's a very clear reason why the United States, with all its military power, the greatest in the world, spent 20 years in Afghanistan and left without winning. The Taliban doesn't fight like a conventional army. They don't need to win battles. They just need not to lose. And to avoid losing, they use guerrilla tactics. Surprise attacks, ambushes. They disappear into the civilian population, reappear somewhere else, bleed the enemy slowly for years until the enemy gives up. That's exactly what the Taliban did to the Americans, and Pakistan knows it. But before I tell you who taught this technique to the Taliban, stop for a second and think.
In that corner, sir? That's right, corner there. All right.
Who do you think it was? Because when I found out the answer, I had to look twice to believe it. It was Pakistan. In the 1980s, during the war against the Soviet Union, Pakistan trained Afghan fighters who would later form the Taliban. Exactly in this art of guerrilla warfare, how to attack and disappear, how to wear down a larger army, how to make a war last for decades without needing to win any battles. Pakistan taught the Taliban the manual that the Taliban now uses against Pakistan itself. Think carefully about what that means. Besides that, there's the TTP, those 30 to 35,000 fighters who are already inside Pakistan. In the event of total war, they would be activated as an internal army. Explosions, attacks on military bases, assassinations of officials, all within Pakistan's own territory, while the army tries to fight the Taliban on the other side of the border. It's a two-front war at the same time, both inside and outside. And there's still a problem that no one is talking about, a problem that could be more dangerous for Pakistan than any Taliban bomb or drone. The truth is that, well, the country is broke, and that's not a metaphor. Pakistan is in a financial bailout agreement with the International Monetary Fund, a global organization that lends money to countries in crisis worth $7 billion. The economy is in shambles, inflation is high, and the country depends on this loan to avoid going bankrupt. The truth is that Pakistan cannot afford to go to war with the Taliban. A guerrilla war is expensive, it's long, it requires soldiers, fuel, ammunition, transportation for years, not weeks. And Pakistan, at the moment it decided to declare open war on the Taliban, has empty coffers. If that wasn't enough to keep any leader up at night, another event, which happened thousands of kilometers away, added more fuel to the fire. The situation became even more complicated throughout the Middle East. Yes, I'm talking about the death of Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran. As soon as they learned that he had died, Iran responded with large-scale attacks across the entire region. And do you know why this matters to Pakistan? Because Pakistan imports oil and Iran is in the same region through which that oil passes. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow sea channel through which almost 1/5 of all the world's oil passes. This region was put at direct risk after this escalation. If oil gets more expensive, or worse, if the supply is cut off, Pakistan will feel this impact in their wallets, in fuel, in transportation, in food, in everything. Think of it this way: a Pakistani father who was already struggling to pay the bills for the month. Suddenly, the price of gasoline doubles, bread gets more expensive, and the bus fare goes up. And the government, instead of solving this, is spending billions on a war. This is the kind of situation that brings down governments, that puts crowds in the streets. An expensive internal war, combined with an external energy crisis, is a combination that few countries could withstand. For Pakistan, in this state, it could be fatal. China, the United Nations, and the United Kingdom have already called for both sides to stop attacking each other and return to the negotiating table. The Taliban's own spokesperson said on February 27th that the group wants to resolve the conflict through dialogue, but Pakistan said no, at least for now. And to make matters even worse, Pakistan accused the Taliban of serving India. They stated that Afghanistan has become an Indian colony, that the Taliban abandoned their former Pakistani allies to obey Pakistan's biggest rival in the region. If this accusation gains traction and if India is dragged into this conflict somehow, what is currently a war between two countries could turn into something much bigger. And in my view, Pakistan had no choice. Backing down now, letting the TTP continue operating freely within the country, accepting that the Taliban can harbor a terrorist army on the border indefinitely, that's not peace. It's just a slower death sentence, one that would come in the form of bombs in markets, attacks on schools, and a country falling apart from within year after year. Now let's go back to the beginning of this story. Pakistan created the Taliban, trained them, financed them, armed them, and bet on them as the perfect ally for the future. 30 years later, that same Taliban opens fire on Pakistani military bases. The creation has turned against its creator. Now I want to know your opinion. Do you believe that Pakistan will be able to win this war? Leave your opinion in the comments. If this video helped you understand what's going on, share it with someone you think deserves to know about this, and subscribe to the channel. Because this story is far from over. See you in the next video.